Hey guys, this is Ryan with Mom on Mission, and today I am bringing you what we read in November 2019. This month I read a ton of fiction because we took the week of Thanksgiving off, and I did a lot of audiobook listening as I was clearing out our house for all of the Christmas chaos that is bound to come. Um, and I was kind of on a suspense and thriller kick, as you will see. So a lot of these are pretty much in the same genre, but anyway. I did finish Final Girls by Riley Sager. Um, Despite how long it took me to read it, I really did love this book. I would give it probably 4 stars. It did keep you guessing pretty much up to the end on who did it and what was actually going on. We were really confused on what actually happened. It was about these girls who survived um, murders, like their friends were all murdered and they were the last one standing or whatever. Um, and kind of um, how these people are all connected and what went on between all of them. So that was a pretty good one. Then I read Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. Again, trying to get through some of those classics that I've never read. And I did listen to this one as well, and I didn't love it. I think maybe this one would have been better to actually read the physical copy because I just had a really hard time following it for the audible version. And I was just left not caring about the characters that much. I'm also not a super big sci-fi or fantasy fan. I don't really know where this would lie. I guess more sci-fi with it being Wells, but I just wasn't a huge fan. So I gave it a try, made it through the book, but definitely don't plan on reading it again. So I'd give that 2 stars just because I was kind of bored with it and over it by the end of it. Then I read In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. It was about a hen party or bachelorette party, as we call it here in the States, and there were some guests there and kind of a coming back together of old friends, and then there ends up being um, something bad go down, and you have to kind of figure out who did it and why, and who has ulterior motives, and that whole kind of twisty mind game type book. And I like that. I'd give it probably a 3.5 stars. Um, it was pretty twisty, and you were left guessing at the end. It just wasn't my favorite to Ruth Ware, but it was still pretty good. And then I read Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. This one was about a camp, like a summer camp, and there's a tragedy there. And then the camp is reopened many years later, and some of the people involved with the first camp tragedy are involved when this camp reopens again. And then there's another tragedy, and you have to figure out how they're connected and what the whole story is behind it all and who's lying and all these different things. It was pretty good. I didn't dislike it, but it was pretty far-fetched for me. I like books that feel like they could happen, but are still, twisty and leave you guessing and kind of are psychological thrillers. So this one was a little far-fetched for me, like a little too unrealistic, but by and large, the story was pretty good, and I'd give that 3 stars. And then I listened to Lock Every Door, also by Riley Sager, and it was also a little far-fetched. It was about a girl going to this really fancy apartment and house sitting, and kind of a is this too good to be true thing. Turns out, yes, indeed, it is too good to be true. I won't tell you why, but again, you're left wondering, okay, what's happening? What's going to happen to her, and who's behind it, and who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. Anyway, you're catching a theme here. But I gave that one also a 3.5 stars. That was a pretty good one. And then I read The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, and I really, really, really love this one. One of my favorite Ruth Ware books. I would give it a 4.5 stars. The main character is sent to nanny for a family and it's kind of told looking back, and she has been charged with a crime, and this is her telling someone why she is innocent. Um, and so you have to hear the story of her going to nanny for this family and what transpired and the different mysteries that the family held. And did she commit the murder? Did she not? Who's involved? Who's not? Definitely twisty, and definitely like up until the last chapter, I was like, wait, what? I didn't have it figured out at all. Sometimes I can kind of pre-guess these things, but I could not on this one. And then I have started, but have not finished, Into the Water by Paula Hawkins. So far I like it. I'm about close to halfway, not quite. And I mean, I won't go into what it's about yet because I'm not, I'm only halfway through, but I will let you know next month what I thought about that. But so far, so good. So for my nonfiction this month, I know that was a whole lot of fiction that I got to listen to, but for my nonfiction, I read Missional Motherhood by Gloria Furman, and I would definitely give this a 4 stars also. Like, it starts in Genesis all the way through the Bible, talking about how motherhood is part of the gospel story. We live in a day and age where, some people, worship motherhood. It is what they live for. Mothers should be revered above all things. And then there's people who think that motherhood should be avoided at all costs, and that it's not convenient or fun or freeing to be a mother, so therefore you should not do it. And both of these are non-biblical ways of thinking. God created the role of a mother, and He created it with purpose. And it's all for His glory, and it's all as part of the gospel. We play a role in that as moms, and it's important and scary, but it's also humbling, and it's just so, so good to be part of God's perfect plan. So it definitely goes into also some more, a little bit of application on how to apply this to your life, but mostly just encouraging mom that this is a mission. This isn't just something we got stuck doing. This isn't just something we have to do. It's something we get to do for the glory of God. And these little people are some souls that we have to tend to, and it's a great responsibility. And then I have just now picked up, but haven't really started it yet, but I will be talking about it next month. The Gospel Comes with a House Key by Rosaria Butterfield. And I've mentioned this book before, but I've never gotten a chance to read it, so now is the time to read it. If you have read this before, let me know down below what you think about it. Then for our read alouds, we finished Across 5 Aprils by Irene Hunt. This was the story, if you haven't read it, about a boy whose brothers have gone off to war, the Civil War, and just the different tensions that come during that time, living in that time. And he had one brother that joined the opposite side of his other brothers, so just seeing what the town thought about that, and having to deal with death and loss and heartache. It was really good. My boys, they said they really liked it, and I think they did. I think it was just a slightly too old for them. There was just a lot that they didn't catch, and there wasn't a ton of action. It was a lot of just kind of what the kids were going through. So this, I would give it 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think they enjoyed it as much as they could, but I think they might get a lot more out of it if they read it here in a couple years. And so then we decided to switch over to something more lighthearted after that, and we are reading The Tale of Despereaux by Kate DiCamillo right now. We're not even halfway through, so I can't really tell you what we think of it, but so far it's just a sweet, easy read, and we're really enjoying it. So for Jude, my 3rd grader, he finally finished Everest, Book 1 of the contest, and despite it taking him forever, he said he did really enjoy the book. I could just tell looking from the outside in that he may have enjoyed it, but he wasn't just plowing through it like some of the other books he's read. But it was by Gordon Corman, and it was about some kids who were training to climb Mount Everest. And I think there was a lot of, action and adventure in there, but it may have been just a little old for him, or he may have just not been super into it. I don't know. But he said he liked it overall. And then he read 2 Geronimo Stilton books. He read The Cheese-Colored Camper, where Geronimo Stilton goes on a trip with his grumpy grandpa, as my kid says. And he said that one was pretty good, but he liked even better the other one, which was The Phantom of the Subway. It was more of a mystery, so he said he really enjoyed that one. And then he was on the wait list for quite a while and finally got to check out I Survived the Great Molasses Flood of 1919. And he said that was a really, really, really good book, his favorite out of the 4 of those books. Of course, about when the big vat of molasses exploded and, this girl had to get away. Of course, she made it because it's an I Survived book, but he said it was really good. And then, as promised, I was going to show you one of our picture books of the month. And this month I read Moon Bear's Shadow by Frank Ash to my kids. And I had totally forgotten about this book until I saw it on someone else's YouTube video. And so we went and checked it out immediately at the library. And I was hoping that I hadn't kind of missed that window for my kids because it's kind of a younger kids book. But they both actually really loved it, and they're in 1st and 3rd grade. And even my toddler was really into it. So it's just a really sweet and still kind of funny story. So we really enjoyed that one. So I would love to know what you guys are reading this month. And into the next month, I will be reading Into the Water by Paula Hawkins, if you'd like to join me. I'll also be reading The Gospel Comes with a House Key by Rosaria Butterfield. And our read aloud is The Tale of Despereaux by Katie DiCamillo. So if you would like to join me in reading any of those, or if you have read them and you would like to know, or you would like to tell me what you thought about them, I would love to hear it. Leave your comments down below, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.